So, as Louise said, my name's Brandon Clay, and I know look at the end of a long day that's been substantive, informative, had tons of information. Whose head is spinning right now like a top and wants to come off the top of their shoulders? So I'm going to do this in a way that hopefully is a little bit playful, a little bit introspective relative to you and where you are right now in your business. But what I was telling Chad a moment ago is I've never actually been in a meeting where everybody lifted the hood so high that you could see every piston. Do they still have pistons in cars? I'm an EV guy. I might as well live in California. But it's so substantive, and they're lifting back the hood and showing you everything. And at this point, unless you guys tell me different, they haven't asked you to do anything. And to me, that's rare. And it's an environment where the value gets added to a point of not only do you want to say, oh my gosh, whatever they're doing, I want to be a part of it. I think that's the value-added differentiator. So while I partner with them in many respects, I am a separate, totally different business, but my business is to support agents, partners that I have, and I love this industry so much that I just want to end up giving back to it. So as we get into some of this, the first part of this is more about you being introspective to your goals, what you desire, what I think could be a formula, so to speak, to help you get there. Then there'll be some of the instructional stuff that I think sort of marries everything else that everyone else has been talking about. So really quick bio relative to me and the time and the history. But my name's Brandon Clay, like he mentioned, CEO of SMA. But I also do a lot of things outside in other environments. But I love, number one, being able to coach, train, and develop. If you see me on LinkedIn, there's little animated cartoons out there that talks about training and development, because training gives you the information, but development tells you what to do with it. And that's more of what I saw here today, is everyone lifting the hood, giving you nuggets of development. But you've actually, if you're not a great golfer, you've got to go out and put in the work to make the swing more fluid. And we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about being consciously incompetent. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's a phase of maturation, it's a phase of progression, it's a phase of how you're going to get better at anything. So first, so I've been doing this in the sense of this industry for 26 years. Anybody been doing Medicare more than 20, actually 27, more than 27 years? Hallelujah, that makes me the old man. Oh, I've got one hand raised. Who is that man over there?
Fred.
Brett?
Fred.
Oh, Fred, thank you, Fred. How long have you been in the business?
I don't want to say.
Well, so
35?
35. Med subs initially, or what was your starting point? Life insurance. So, but now probably doing some of these other products as well?
I do a lot of medical.
Okay, awesome. So Fred's got me beat. So instead of him being, I'll be Yoda, he could be Methuselah. Either way, we've got the age thing covered. But having done this for 27 years and done it at some fairly high levels, as they mentioned, on the carrier side for 20 of those 27 years, distribution, FMOs, agencies, partners, the last 7. And have built some pretty amazing organizations. I actually worked with Nick Micheletti back at the Heartland days when they first started in the Medicare Advantage world. Was actually shoulder to shoulder with him when he developed that plan. So not taking any thunder from him, because it's an awesome indemnity product, but I've been around a really long time. So as we get into it, I really want you to be focused for the next 10 minutes on your goals, how you're going to achieve them. And while I think it was Adam that asked what everybody's goals were, I think it was you, Adam, and people started putting numbers out, we're going to test your ability to truly believe and have confidence in whether you can hit them or not. So number one, I think we're there. I am here. Now that's the red dot. Everybody knows that. And usually when you're here, the question I like to ask is, why are you here? And we didn't do this in any concerted effort, but you've heard several times, what's your why? Simon Sinek, or why you're doing this, because intrinsic motivation is going to be based on why you are doing the things you do, which will usually determine if you sustain doing them. Because if you don't have a big enough why, the how sometimes becomes unbearable, and it's easy just to cave in and give up. And you've been told many times here today, you just have to do it. You've got to take action. You've got to fail forward. But that's a hard initiative to engage in if your why isn't compelling enough. So I like to tell people there's usually 3 reasons. And there's the WIFM, what's in it for me? You have to be here for you. In one of the books I wrote, the mentor asked the young man, why are you here? And he says, duh, money. And he basically taught him and showed him that that's going to be shallow, it's not going to last very long, and it's not going to be very enduring, and you'll end up with a certain amount of what we'll call empty fulfillment. I know that sounds contradictory and dichotomous, but ultimately you're fulfilled because there's money, but you're empty because it's not really related to anything that's more substantive than what a dollar might bring. But you're here for you, you're here for money, but you're here for them. And I've now heard it in so many different contexts, like Jess, J-E-S-S, Jess a moment ago, Adam a moment ago with Mrs. Jones. I always tell agents that this thing is a threefold powerhouse. It's emancipation. How many people feel free and liberated that you're running your own autonomous business? And if you have ever worked a 9 to 5 sitting in that chair, say free at last, child, free and free, set them free. Little sting there. He's probably in residency back there. I could do a little sting if I needed to. But so it's emancipation, it's gratification. How many people feel awesome with the work you do every day when you support somebody's hopes and dreams, answering a question that they couldn't have fulfilled otherwise, or taking the complex and made it simple enough to where they can understand it? So there's the emancipation, gratification, and then there is money. Everybody shout money. Oh, see, y'all don't want none, or either you're just so tight. Everybody shout money. Money. Remuneration. That's all sales does in this word, in this context. But when you do it for them, it sets up the stage for that gratification, as we'll see in a moment, to take root and inspire you beyond your day-to-day grind. Because you are going to have to grind to get to the good part. And that's the part most people don't want to do, is embrace the grind, embrace the suck, until it all starts to come together. But then finally, you're here for us. First and foremost, how many of you, through the testimonials, we have to call them those things, have been inspired to say, holy smoke, somebody's doing what I thought I wanted to do, and they're making it happen? And we talked a little bit yesterday in the mastermind, which those of you that missed that, you want to be part of that group. Now, I was just there as a talking head, a guest speaker. They're there by way of being bonded by goals, dreams, and their ability to work hard and have performance. But what I'd said there is that when you're doing things through a testimonial, and we talked about Sebastian Coe and Roger Bannister, if anybody knows the whole 4-minute mile thing. So when you hear an agent, Adam, selling over 800 sales in a first year, or somebody that's got 2,000 in their book, all of a sudden that inspiration gives you the hope, because that 4-minute mile had never been broken, but once it was broken, we've got high schoolers doing that now. So I always like to say, if it can be done, and it is being done, holy, 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 why not me? Somebody shout, I'm next. I'm next. Because it's your turn next. I thank you so much for that. Thank you, Ruben. So here we go. And now we're going to move a little quicker. So how do you get there? If you're here, how do you get there? And there is where your goals are. And I said it yesterday in the mastermind as well. Everything you have is in your comfort zone. Now, you may be evolved and grew and matured, and the things you now have were something you once aspired for, but now all of a sudden what you have is in your comfort zone, but the things you desire are where? Outside the comfort zone. So I'm here, and it's good, but I want something more. And in the case of more, we usually context more as better. So how do I go from here to there? And this is where we dive in. So these concentric circles are just what? A target. And at the end of the day, at the center of that target is your goal. And you want to hit a bullseye, right? How many people want to hit a bullseye to their goal? Absolutely. So we take that goal, and there are two things that will determine. Imagine if you have a bow and arrow or a gun, and you determine, two things will determine if you hit that goal. The first one is how good is your weapon. Anybody have one of those tension bows, the kind you can actually go hunting with? Anybody in the room do that? All right, so I got John back there that does that. That takes power to pull back, right? But when you let it go, what is that arrow gonna do? It's gonna fire out there. Right. But have you ever had the little Nerf one for $2.99 with the little kite string? Yeah, you're not gonna hurt anybody with that. So the first thing about determining if you'll hit your target, thinking of when you see the word goal, you should be thinking of either the quantitative or qualitative goals about your life, mental, spiritual, social, physical, financial, how it relates to this business or how it relates to your life, whatever that is. When you see the little red dot go, this is a little bit subliminal, a little bit Pavlovian. Ring the bell, feed the dog. Ring the bell, feed the dog. Ring the bell, feed the dog. Ring the bell, yeah, you thought it. Feed the dog. Conditioning is an amazing thing, especially if you're conditioning yourself for success, particularly when you're going to have to pay the price to get it. So the first thing is, how good is your weapon? The second thing is, how good is your aim? Anybody remember William Tell? The guy that put the apple on somebody's head and had to shoot it off with an arrow? You're going to want a marksman if you're the one with the apple on your head. Does anybody know what the William Tell Overture is? Never mind, it's the Lone Ranger theme song, but that's okay, but it's called the William Tell Overture. I am a walking trivia machine, and in this bald brown head, there are 20 Brandons, and each one of them is saying, can I say that now? Am I going to get a chance to use that information? But what's going to determine if you hit any goal in your life is how good is your weapon and how good is your aim. So if you're thinking introspectively right now, how good is your weapon? How good is your aim? So lightsabers in the hands of kittens is just cute. But 5 smooth stones in the hands of somebody that knows how to use them is deadly. So some of you are working with what you think are rudimentary weapons, but your skill isn't there. That's a rudimentary weapon, but in the hands of somebody with skill is dangerous. But lightsabers in the hands of kittens is dangerous, okay? In the other way. So you have access to the best weapons, and I'm going to do it. You partner with 360 because I believe in them. I've known Matt now for some years, and I'm getting to know the rest. David Duford, I'm impressed by everybody here, Adam Howard, etc. But you have access to this industry as a whole. Senior market, if we want to be focused there. Underage market, ACA, because now I'm starting to get that thing. Saul got that ACA on lock. But the reality is this industry, having looked at it 27 years and come through waves of change, had to reinvent myself every single time because I kept looking around and said, where are the weapons? The first weapon is that 10,000 to 12 to 13, and I didn't misquote it, I just accelerated it. Because for the next decade, that number is going to expand so quick, 13,000 a day is the more accurate number. So here we go. This industry is providing you weapons of growth, expansion, carriers that will come in here at Topgolf, pay for some of this to help teach you and just get 30 minutes to introduce a seed of opportunity of their weapon. Awesome. But you're looking around and you're seeing is sticks and stones, and you don't know if you know how to use them. When you've got artillery surrounding you in this industry at large. But then if you partner with somebody that can help your aim, because that's all a partner is supposed to do is, lower it down, find your sights, shoot it. But you've got the best products, the best training, the best tools, and the mind. Now the mind is up to you. But I like to tell people all the time, your mind is a weapon. But most of us don't weaponize our mind. We euthanize it. I'm not going to go out today. These leads are not going to be very good. Oh, woe is me. Oh, I know this one's a no-show. Matter of fact, I don't even think I'm going to put $800 into the lead system anyway. When I wake up, I do 3 or 4 levels of both meditative review of the day that was, the day that's coming, and then I do some crazy hyped up video about screaming and getting mad, and then I'll go do a devotional, and then I come out here and I fight this thing. Because here's the thing, I'm a nice guy. And if you're going to be nice and get to the levels I've attained, and yes, I'm saying it in that manner, then being nice isn't normally associated with being the CEO of anything. And this is a 9-figure business. And I'm now associated with a 10-figure enterprise of which I am at the seat of leadership. And for every time I've moved into another room, I was fighting to get into the 6-figure room. Anybody, when we talked about standing up, sitting down, who wants to fight to get into the 6-figure room? To make 6 figures. That was my first fight. And then I found the 7-figure room. Took 20 years to get the first million, and I did say first. And then the millions, like T-Boone Pickens, the first billion is the hardest. The first million was tough. But the next ones that came, all I remembered is if I let my mind be a weapon, I enter into a room and add my positive thoughts to the strategy and the tactics and the things that are being engaged in. I bring my talents to bear. Don't take more than I'm supposed to take. Don't do more than I'm capable of doing. Use my strengths, hire my weaknesses, or in partner with somebody that can cover me for my weaknesses. Collaboration over competition. Then I take my fair share. And I keep walking with more money in my pocket. But that's because I know that this is my greatest weapon. So if you're not recognizing that your mind is a weapon and is one of the tools of mass destruction, then you've got to rethink the way you think and reprogram that part of your mind at the conscious level, yes, subconscious, and then for those of us that can see it, into the superconscious. And yes, Jess, I caught a couple of statements you made. I understand your thought process that's getting you to manifestation. Because here's the thing about life and about sales very specifically, and I'll get into it another way in another moment, and you better start raising cards up in a moment, David, to keep me on track, but we're moving. And this is actually, here's the thing, I'm healing myself right now. If you're not catching me and not feeling it, I get it. Because this is not for everybody, but for the ones that embrace it and see it and have that one more spark of electricity in their mind and those synapses start coming together, the amygdala starts to shrink, your fight or flight goes away, and then the next time you see the same lead you looked at Friday, because your amygdala has shrunk and now your cerebellum, cerebrum, and medulla oblongata is telling you get up and go out. Did I get all those parts of the brain right? Of course I did, because I was brilliant. Don't let the Southern drawl fool you. Georgia Tech flunk out. Dual degree, but that's okay. But what I was going to say is the next time you look at that lead, you see possibility. And then it's a funny thing about the human mind. When the amygdala begins to shrink and the fight or flight tends to go away and the risk gets minimized and the why becomes so big enough that the how doesn't matter, you then porch hop and door knock, which I love my porch hopping and door knocking final expense warriors. Oh my goodness, oh my. What's got to be happening between somebody 6 inches that they can take something that doesn't have a name, has a number on it, just an address, and they're knocking and saying, oh, I'm here because you asked for me. Grit and guts. But your mind is a weapon. Everybody shout, my mind's a weapon. My mind's a weapon. Don't euthanize it, weaponize it. All right, so here we go. So now I got a question for you. Question, what is your confidence factor? What is your confidence factor? Now the word confidence is a root word, 2 words. The word con, chili con carne, chili con queso. What does the con mean there? With. Who said that? With. It was almost worth money, but I don't have any in my pocket right now, so thank you for that. Con means with, but fideo is the root word of fidelity, which actually means with truth, like a high fidelity audio system. And it also means with faith. So do you have some fidelity? Will you work with fidelity? Do you believe? Will you work with some truth, some faith? So what is your confidence factor? Everybody that wrote a number down earlier today would tell me that, oh, I want to do 500, 1,500, whatever that time frame was. If I asked you your confidence factor, the first thing I could tell you is confidence doesn't allow for gradation. You don't get to have degrees of confidence. You either have faith or you have doubt. Oh, I'm about 50% confident. No. It's not the way you get to do it. 50% of anything is not going to get you there with this kind of equation. So what I like to tell people is look at this dude right here. Yeah, look at him. He had it going on. Met my wife at age 14. We've been married 35 years come April 11th. My childhood sweetheart at every level, but now look at this dude. Holy smoke. But both of them are confident. Like I always like to tell people, I didn't lose my hair. I made a decision to shave it. And no offense to my other follically challenged brothers in the room, woo! But bald is pathetic, shaved is sexy. I did this on purpose. But both were confident. It shouldn't matter how you've changed, what you've been through, what you were. All that matters today is what you are and what's in front of you. So how do we build confidence? Because we do. If I talk about 50% confidence factor, what I'm actually saying is I'm half doubtful. And I'd rather almost use the word doubt than confidence, because confidence in and of itself is an absolute. I'm confident. Means I'm going to do it. Means I can do it. Means I'm going to put in the work to do it. But how do we build it to where it equals the 100% or more that it takes to actually execute? We take drugs. Now hang on a minute. Anybody remember Bradley Cooper in the movie Limitless? What did he take to become so smart from being a down and out wannabe writer to being somebody that could take command of every situation he ever falled into? He took a drug. And then we've got Jeremy Renner, yes. In The Bourne, I actually prefer the Matt Damon's, but I just put him here because he took drugs. They were called chems, the blue ones, the red ones. Does anybody remember those movies? And when he didn't have his chems, he became dumb and listless. Do you know that this industry provides you drugs free of charge? Now, not PDP, yeah, you know me, not those drugs. But we get drugs by making money. How many people feel good when they make money? There is a part of the brain that they've actually determined has a certain amount of electric reaction when money is either presented, earned, lost. Have you ever been sick because you couldn't find that $20 bill or that quarter that rolled under the couch, and now you're lifting it, trying to get your grandbabies to go, can you baby go up under that couch and get that quarter? Sick over a quarter being lost. But when you make money, there's a part of the brain that goes haywire. Guess what same part of the brain is fired off when you serve? It's the same part of the brain. How many people like to feel good about what they're doing every day when they go help people? So I always like to say capitalism, good. Now, not the Gordon Gekko greed is good, but capitalism, making money, is good. But altruism, giving, serving, is also good. So if I got a drug of making money and the same drug that serves, and then by serving I'm going to get more money, then every day you wake up, you should be like, oh my gosh, 10 people are going to tell me no. 10 people are going to say hell no. And another 10 are going to, we're not going to say what the other 10 say. Because you're looking for the one or two that say yes. But you're not going to endure the no's if you're not willing to be drug addicted. And there's nothing wrong with being addicted to the money that comes from service. And as I like to say, and it's mine, as you serve, you deserve. As you serve, you deserve. And everybody's characterized in one form or another, and it's not because of senility or lack of knowledge or lack of some degree lack of information, but it's conflicting information, it's noisy out there. The senior population, regardless of rocket scientist or Miss Mamie in the corner that's on food stamps, is they are an underserved population. Underserved. So how much more Molotov cocktail chemical inducing serotonin, whatever drugs fall into that category, are being produced when you're porch hopping and door knocking in an area where nobody else wants to go. You walk in, and I think somebody said it to me earlier, they didn't have any teeth. He reviewed all the plans, got her on a dental plan, got her teeth, and now she's able to eat. That's life-changing. Oh, and by the way, they paid him a first-year commission, $573 or whatever it is now. Altruism, capitalism, not mutually exclusive, not diametrically opposed. They serve each other when they're done right. That's what this industry that we're describing, from ACA to annuities to MA to FE to MS to HIP to HHS, or I think that's health, heart, and stroke, whatever I did. CHS, thank you so much. I'm riffing now, actually, so just pardon me for, I want to be a rapper so bad. My kids are like, boy, put your Barry Manilow back on and sit down. So I'm back to goals here. Now that we know why, the real question is how. Now I'm going to bring my old Georgia Tech engineering degree that I almost got. I was only about 3.5 semesters shy of passing, but I left before they could kick me out, so I didn't have to say that they didn't kick me out. I dropped out in my junior year, dual degree. But I'm going to ask a question. If two trains are leaving the station, different places, one's in Chicago, one's in Los Angeles, when are they going to cross and hit each other? Somebody says, I don't know, but I don't want to be on either one of those trains when it happens. But the reality is it's a simple equation. It's speed times time equals distance. Speed times time equals distance. Speed times time equals distance. So if you tell me what your goal is, that's your distance. Now, your effort is your speed. And time, 24 hours in a day for all of us, is a constant. So if you tell me your goal, so how is it that somebody could say, my goal is 500 in 2 years, when I've got somebody doing 500 in 6 months and taking time off for his family? There is a different effort equation. The effort is different. The goal is different, and the time is constant. So when you look at your goal, you should be thinking, what is my effort? The only thing I can control two of those things, what I want, my goal, and why I want it, emotionalizing it. But the effort, the how, is a determiner of how fast you get there, and quite frankly, if you get there. So then I'm going to ask everybody, this is the way I tend to do it, everybody needs to get 1%. Get 1% better at whatever it is you're doing, and do 1% more. If you're buying leads now, get 1% more of them, and then you've got to find out how to get 1% better at contact rates, setting appointments, sitting at appointments, closing appointments. That 1% across that spectrum is going to yield, isn't it right, Adam, some measurable amount of betterment in your results. Now, I didn't set it up this way, but my goal is always 25%. It's appreciable enough. It's better than saying 10 or 15. It's not like saying 50, 75, or 100. Can I get 25% better on anything quantitative in my life? And then I try to figure out qualitatively what 25% better at something might look like. But I need you to get 1% better, do 1% more. So if you're in a house, you need to do a little bit more. So maybe it is about helping somebody get LIS that doesn't know it. And Luis talked about how that works, that 3 of the 4 people that should be on it don't know it. Maybe it's a little bit more where you sit down and say, let me take a look at your final expense plan right now. I could probably save you money. Get your cash out of that deal, buy the new one, and you're actually going to have some money left over. But it requires you doing a little bit more. Maybe you can do a little bit more by helping somebody with a hospital indemnity, or looking at anything that, and even if you're not walking away with a sale, just as I think a few people have said, doing the right thing to help people. But the consistent refrain I'd want to tell you is to do more. And then through skill betterment, you're naturally going to get better, because that's the whole thing about putting your reps in. You get better. Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours. Actually, it wasn't Malcolm Gladwell. It was a Swedish scientist that came up with that, but Malcolm Gladwell popularized it. Point is, 10,000 hours makes you proficient at the level of expertise. Now, I'm going to slow down and say this. How many new people have never done any of this? Nothing Medicare, health, or otherwise life. All right, that's fine, CT. Okay, and another one here. How many have never done Medicare but now know they need to? Okay, good route. How many people have never done ACA but now know they need to? And then we could make the full rounds, annuities, but now know they need to. So here's the thing, and I don't want to demean or diminish what I know has been talked about, but you've watched some very polished, professional people who put the reps in. How many people have never golfed? never golfed, or don't like golf, or don't play golf. We're gonna know who you are once we get out there, so it's not even a question. Now, me, on the other hand, I have my glove in my bag. I'm ready. But in those first moments, I'll do Medicare for a moment. In those first homes, those first 5 homes, you're going to be, and boy, I'm going to do it, you're going to be an order taker. Are the docs in the network? Are the meds in the formulary? Can I quote the benefits? And do I know how to use the enrollment tool? I'm taking this app. Now, by the time you get to the 6th one, you should be at least on the lowest level, by way of getting better, a professional. But then you keep doing it, then you become a consultant, an advisor, but then you get to the point of expertise like what Chad talked about, and that's 1 year of solid digging in. I'm doing all my homework energy. So don't be depressed, be impressed, because you're like, I'll never become like Chad. Then put the reps in. If his effort times his time, and he did it in a year, but it takes you 3 years, what's wrong with that if that's your goal and what you're willing to put in the reps for? But by the time you get to that 50, 60, 75th app, you're going to become an advocate. And boy, that's when your phone rings without you having to do anything. Can I get one witness in here that that's worked for? All right, so do more. So we're still rolling. So now you've got all these fragmented 1% betters, 1% mores across a spectrum of activity, a spectrum of events and things that you need to do in your life to reach the goals you say you want. And then there's 3 things that are going to happen. The moment you even attempt, anemic, ineffectual, doesn't matter. The moment you start, the domino effect kicks off in your life. The next one is the butterfly effect, where some small thing you do will somehow yield some larger opportunity somewhere else, and they're not always connected. The person you helped today and says, oh, you're on the right plan, you're good. And then the next thing you know, your phone's ringing with 3 or 4 of their cousins. That's the butterfly effect. Some small, what seems to be inconsequential action on your part sets off another opportunity. And then there's finally the compound effect. The compound effect, the aggregated strength of 1% better, 1% more across a spectrum of activities that you're going to engage in that will help you reach your goal. It will become like Mentos and Coke. Explosive. Or like the one atom with enriched uranium that explodes and literally can be devastating. And that's obviously the wrong approach to using power and compound effect. But if you then start doing any one thing in any one area, domino, butterfly, and compound will take over. And then all your 1% will come back to the surface, and as I like to say in my case, those things are going to yield me, whatever it is quantitatively or qualitatively in my life, a 25% betterment. Does anybody follow what I'm trying to do here? Okay, find those 1% things to do more of, find those 1% things to get better at, and now let's roll. So let's see what I got here. So now what would be your confidence factor? If I outline it like that, you can start looking at your goal in a reverse engineered way like Adam talked about, the IKEA Billy bookcase. Where I made a Billy bookcase. Anybody ever made the Billy bookcase? Is anybody from IKEA? Oh, so it's just me buying cheap furniture. That's okay. That's all right. Y'all got Bernhardt and all that fancy stuff in your house. Oh, that's right. You all are Medicare millionaires and 6-figure renewals. But I'm at IKEA, and I built a Billy bookcase, and first, they're smart. They only put pictures because they know most, and this is sort of hopefully not too sexist, men are not going to read anything. We just think, oh, okay, there's 4 sides, there's 3 shelves, and there's 20 screws. Let's go. And I did that, and my wife came in, because we had 10 of these things now, and it was wobbly. And she says, what did you do wrong? I said, what do you mean what I do wrong? I said, I followed these pictures. And it's wobbly, and it's wobbly. And she says, what are these 2 screws here for? I said, they're extras. Now, my wife is the mechanical engineer of the household. She says, and she went, yeet, and by the time she hit the second one, that thing went from wobble to shoot. It became so rigid. Some of you are just 2 screws loose from having some confidence and stability. That was a joke. I worked that in real good, didn't I? That was extemporaneous. I hadn't used that one before. Should I write that one down? But the real question is, what is your confidence factor now if you start to see your life in a different way? So when I show that red dot, what do you see? Your goal, if I've done my work. Subliminal, Pavlovian. Now you see your goal everywhere. And then we should be able to celebrate you reaching and achieving and exceeding that goal at another meeting like this a year from now. Or as you join in to the mastermind. So now, how much time do I have? And I do want that time check. Probably, I think, did it start?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
Which really means 2.
So I'm going to do this, and I feel almost, not embarrassed, but you've had such great substantive information provided to you today by the people who are doing it. It's the old adage, George Bernard Shaw, those that can do, those that can't teach, and those that can't do or teach write books. So you got me up here doing all 3. But I'm going to do a really fast run on if you were getting this thing started today, and you asked me where you should start, I might actually say final expense. And there's a whole host of reasons why. But I'm going to ask a couple of questions. What do you see when I put this on the board?
Opportunity is now here.
Very good, Jess. Now, some people are seeing opportunity is nowhere, because it's there too. But it is opportunity is now here. All about perspective and looking at life in terms of the glass half full or flowing over, or possibly being half empty. And yes, Luis, no writer's credit, no attribution, no comp, no. But here's the thing. Somebody said it. It was John said he will never sit down again. When somebody asked the question about, are you remaining standing? Are you the one making 6-figure renewal? He declared and said, I will never be sitting down again. Sounds like the line from Scarlett in Gone with the Wind. I'll never go hungry again. Is that what she said? All right, that's Margaret Mitchell. I'm from Georgia. Forgive me. Again, trivia. So this is what you need, along with ACA, because I now need to add that. I've been converted to ACA. I'm serious. And I'm going to be dangerous now that I've been proselytized. That's converted. That didn't sound good, but that's okay. Oh, well, thank you so much, Matt. I will do it. So it's final expense, Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage, and I say hospital indemnity. Those are the rudimentary elements of the first cross-selling opportunities that are the most complementary and give you as an agent, especially if you're new, the best chance to learn and get going. So I always say Act 2, final expense, is final, but it shouldn't be. So if we call 10 of your clients right now and said, hey, this is Brandon, I sold you XYZ final expense. Are you with these other products? 7 of those 10 people are going to say, yeah, baby, I bought those from somebody else. Because guess what? Another agent is finishing the work you started. I always like to say final expense is the easiest to learn. Holy smoke, the hardest to sell. I like the way you nuance the answer about how hard annuities are versus final expense. I'm voting that final expense is harder than annuities. It would be easier to get $1.1 million from somebody than it would be to get $80 in premium on a plan. So for the pork chop and door knocking warriors that make that equation happen, holy smoke. But Medicare very specifically is the hardest to learn, easiest to sell. And heck, I just learned today that ACA ain't hard in either fashion. 5-minute renewal certifications. Come on now.
5, that's slow.
So if another agent is, so in the beginning, and you've heard very, so I probably almost want to go through this fast. In the opening, you should be answering questions, final expense, BRC. This is about final expense to start with, who you are, what you do, and why you're there. You heard various elements of that earlier from other people. Brandon Clay, agent extraordinaire. I would add my list of annuities and ACA, but all I'm doing is setting the stage, but I'm there to be focused on final expense because there's a premium, not a premium as in a pun, but there's something to be gained threefold by staying true to what you're there for, especially if you're a newer agent. Let's get the final expense first. But I think it was done through the fact finds with Ruben and Chad and a few others, but 4 more questions. And I do ask them in a little bit different fashion I have to be from I'll call it a compliance angle, not saying that anybody was ever loose with it. I have to kind of go to a stricter letter of the law for a host of reasons. But who are your doctors? I can ask that in a final expense environment. What medicines do you take? Hey, if I know they're on gabapentin, is it restless leg or is it neurological? I mean, I'm trying to play like I know final expense, but I know at some point there are things that impact my ability to give them immediate, modified, or a guaranteed issue. But then I can say, have you been to the hospital in the last 12 months? Most final expense for immediate issue do ask that, yay, nay, maybe, sometimes. So, but then the question becomes, and because like Chad, I've got enough knowledge in my head, I don't have to say, pull out your Medicare card. If you were to go to the hospital, what would you have paid? Would you have paid $15, $60 something? Would you have paid $350 times 7 days? I'll pay $0. Now, if I'm in Beverly Hills, I'm going to know they're on a med sup, probably a legacy plan F. But now, if I'm in the hood on Bankhead, Buckhead to Bankhead in the state of Georgia, where Lewis in Georgia lives in Georgia, I'm going to know it's a dual eligible, Medicare, Medicaid. My point is, though, all I'm doing as a new agent going out there with final expense is getting enough to go home and to do some homework. But then I turn my attention to selling the policy. Because it's been mentioned a couple of times, I think Luis did it, when you sell the policy, the government calls that an EBR for the purposes of Medicare marketing guidelines. It allows you to then transition immediately to the discussion of the next product, not the consummation of a Medicare. So I always tell agents, sell the policy. If you're scared about all the ways compliance works, don't talk to me about different shades of gray. Now, that was not a pun either, that slipped out, and I didn't put the 50 in, so I'm good. Boy, that did it anyway, didn't I? Gosh almighty. But I'm going to focus on the policy writing it because it immediately allows me to take a scope of appointment if they have an election, and that's another story for another day. Or I can get a PTC, or like the fact find that Ruben and Chad used, it listed the doctors, the medicines. But I'm going to get a stack of these things and get ready by going home. And somebody asked about technology. You could go back home and put all the docs into Sunfire, depending on the platform, all the meds, and it's going to give you a recommendation. But what I love about what Chad did is it actually becomes homegrown to where you now lock those numbers in because you're the one scribing it and going through the summary of benefits to figure it out. And actually, a shameless plug, in my book, 6 Hours of Six Figures, I actually tell agents they should be doing exactly that. Because when I wrote it in 2011, there was no connector, there was no Sunfire, there was none of these fancy tools. And yes, CT, it needs to be updated. 2018 information is still good, with the exception of copays, but that's another story for another day. So this is what happens when you turn the corner. And all I like to tell people, for agents that are just getting started, it's the great Carl Walenda, if you ever remember it. Chuck Connor, Thrill Seekers, Jim McKay, Wild World of Sports. The great Walendas used to walk across tight ropes with no safety net. That's all Medicare is. Naked Medicare running down the street is a red, white, and blue card that has cost sharing, co-pays. It works good until you use it. And then that thing becomes wobbly and unstable. So we have the two choices. Again, I'm going to do this really fast. We have Medicare Supplement, Plan G in this case with a PDP. And actually, I meant to tell you the amount. They're paying $3,900 a year on top of the $170 per person per month. $3,900 is the cost of just the premium for those two things. Then you've got a PPO, which is a preferred provider organization. I like to say it like this. With an HMO, if they're in the book, you can go. With a PPO, if they're not in the book, you can go, but you might pay more. Sorry, Southern, can't help it. But a PPO, zero premium, annual premium is zero, so that person's got decent coverage. So it's a tale of two cities. Charles Dickens, the best of times, the worst of times. So when you've got them side by side, you've now got zeros down the board after the deductible. Did I put the deductible? $233, correct. And then you've got normal cost sharing on the other side, hospital, ambulance, radiation, which is all the things Nick Micheletti talked about earlier. And I use the extreme out-of-pocket for out-of-network. It's up to $10,000. That's what they look like side by side. But again, those are the options that they would have in front of them after they're on that red, white, and blue card, walking that tightrope like the great Carl Walenda, going across that cost share model. These are those two options. So then you've got a huge difference in annual cost, $3,900. Who looks smarter? Now somebody said, Louise said it earlier, I always say the term, you should be product agnostic and to some degree carrier agnostic. Hope my Anthem buddies didn't hear that. And I got a Humana bag. Where's my man? I asked Matt, I said, is there going to be a carrier there? I got a Humana bag. Do you know how bad that is to have a Humana bag and Anthem is here? Sorry, but that's another story. That'll be on YouTube, I'm sure. So who looks smarter? And I do say who looks smarter, because the qualifier is in sickness and in health. So, sorry, let me go back. If the people on the right that are on the Medicare supplement are healthy for 5 years, they pay $20,000 for what? Nothing. But protection, peace of mind, those things are important. If the people on the left are healthy for 5 years, they look like geniuses. But now if the people on the right both have cancer, they look like geniuses. The people on the left, if they both got cancer, they're both going to be facing the moot. There it is. Moot. There it is. That $10,000 is going to be their exposure. And we've already reiterated on several occasions that the 20% radiation is going to basically, somebody says, baby, what happens if I get cancer? Boop, there it is. See this number right here? That's what you're going to pay. And depending on how those bridges cross each other, and I hate to do this because I've had cancer in the family, depending on the time, that moot, there it is, could happen twice. 6 months into the first year and then probably drags into the second year, they're going to face that moot twice. So the answer is not as easy as who's smarter. Somebody with a fixed rate mortgage and pays a certain amount per month, but they've got full protection, even though it can go up annually. Or this person that says, I'm going to take the Russian roulette approach, I'm going to pay zeros, and if the co-pays hit me, I'm good for the 40s, the 30s. But if that $10,000 moot, there it is, multiple hospitalizations hit me, I'm not going to be able to afford that. So then we add an indemnity, which again, I know this is a repeat, but maybe this is a summary and an encapsulation of the day. $110 is the premium, $1,320 monthly or annually. They're now doing that with the Medicare Advantage. So now they've got the $300 a day, $200 ambulance, and a $10,000 first occurrence of cancer. So now the gap has closed between the savings or the difference in what they pay. But now we take a look at them side by side. Now on the other side over here, 233, zeros, and as Billy Preston, the fifth Beatle, would say, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. They're going to pay nothing after the 233. That's still the same. But now on the right side, you've got co-pays that look almost the same. If they go into hospital, they pay zero. Why? Because the indemnity stepped in. If they need the ambulance, they pay zero. Why? Because the indemnity stepped in. If they had radiation treatments, they would not be paying because they'd be getting a $10,000 check. They're good. And then the MOOP is a little more complicated to explain. The dollars are still accruing to the medical cost, but they didn't pay it out of pocket. So even though they got an indemnity check, they're actually drawing down their medical expense. MOOP, there it is. Everybody somewhat follow what I'm saying there. It's again, it's repetition from earlier in the day. That alone should make you present indemnity. The worst thing they can say is, I don't want it.
Not now.
How many people sell indemnity? Indemnity, and it's Fred, right?
Yeah.
Indemnity, I'm going to do it. If you simply present it, it sells itself. Agree, disagree, a little bit of in the middle?
I disagree.
Okay, so tell me what you think.
You got to explain the problems.
No,
You got to explain the problem in the Medicare Advantage plan. And the problem is there's not complete coverage for cancer. So you need to have cancer plan to cover that, or else they will be out a lot of money.
a lot of money.
And I've had a lot of clients that have thanked me for buying the hospital indemnity plan.
Well, and Fred's answer is perfect. Now, I'm an old certified spin selling trainer, and when I say present, You'd have to demonstrate the situation, the tightrope, the problem with the tightrope, the implication of the tightrope. If you don't take care of that, Mrs. Jones, if you did develop cancer, here is your out-of-pocket exposure. The need payoff is what the N stands for. You say, but if I could show you a way to mitigate those costs and not have to worry about whether occurrence of cancer would bankrupt the family and put an undue strain on your kids, would you be interested in that solution? The answer is just kind of, so Fred and I are saying, I'll say, not the counterpoint, if it's presented in a way that showed the need first, because of the situation, the problem, and the implication of that situation, if it's then shown right, it likely sells. I want percentages. How many times that you present it, Luis, that you sell it? 50-50. Fred, and anything else you want to add? So.
Well, I just presented as a defect in Medicare Advantage plans that can be fixed.
Oh, because here's the thing, we are aghast at the 20% and the unlimited and the benefit periods that can recycle up to 6 times a year. But I agree, we don't really frame Medicare Advantage with any, that's a good thing overall, but here's where it's lacking. And sometimes we kind of take that zero premium approach thinking we've done the holistic, but we really have left some things undone. But anybody else by way of how much they present, 50-50? Anybody else that sells a lot of these in terms of just percentage, Chad?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit better than 50-50.
Yeah.
Louis spot on, maybe 60-40.
Perfect. All right, so speed round here. I like my Reese's Cup, 2 great tastes that taste great together. When you add an indemnity with a Medicare Advantage, you create a baby Med-Sup. Now, it's not quite the Med-Sup, Brad, that you might be doing generally. Obviously, it's not a G or an N, but it does turn into a baby light Med-Sup. It turns an MAPD into a D-SNP. Now, why do I say that? D-SNPers are used to seeing zeros. But now all of a sudden, an MAPD person gets to see some zeros. But then they get the MA, the PDP, the DVH, if it's there, the Flex Card, if it's there, the OTC, yeah, you know me, the GEM, you get the picture. I would tell every Medicare Advantage agent right now, just present indemnity and watch the magic happen. So then the power of indemnity, and I won't do this. I'm going to slide through this. I'm going to slide through this. I'm going to slide through it. So as you serve, you deserve. I always ask people, what kind of pie do you want? Apple or cherry? Everybody's seen Radio, Tim Harris, Cuba Gooding Jr. Hey, Radio, what kind of pie you want? What kind of culture they got, Coach John? Strawberry, cherry. He says, I want both. I think today, if you haven't received the message that you should incrementally expand your practice, you can't do it all at once, I get that, but incrementally and intentionally expand your practice, a product a quarter, a product every 6 months. So over a next 2-year period, you're riding across this spectrum of opportunity, legging in, doing it iteratively, but your clients want apple pie and cherry pie a la mode. I tell agents all the time, it's not cost. They want value, and they want the most comprehensive coverage that they can afford presented versus, in the very specific sense of Medicare Advantage, a zero premium where you drop that zero and run, and then they start using it and realize it's got gaps. So then you need to serve your clients at a higher level. And then the last thing is, or the next to last, 6-year renewal income in 3 to 5 years. There are some people who are going to accelerate that curve. Effort times time equals goal equals distance. If you want that in 2 years, there's a number you have to hit. You want it in 3 to 5, there's a process, there's a number, there's leads to be bought, there's virtual assistants to be had, there's these texting, these voiceless ring voicemails. I'm listening to all these tools and thinking that to the degree that you can systematize your business, and you are running a business, you are not a producer, you are not an agent, you are a business. Govern yourself and act as such. And then I threw this in just because of somebody said, where are you? There's the four quadrants, unconsciously incompetent. I don't know that I don't know. And ignorance is bliss, but as Jim Rohn said, ignorance is dangerous. But the moment you know that, and like in this case, some of you are now crossing the line between I didn't know what I don't know to now I know I don't know. And you're consciously incompetent. That is a great quadrant. Because it's the first stage of enlightenment. It's Archimedes, Eureka. It's all of those things that will then stimulate you to take the uncomfortable actions that will take you to the next phase until you become consciously competent. I got to think about it. I got to think about it. I got to think about it. But I know it's in there. I got to call somebody. I got to ask somebody. But I know what I'm missing. And then eventually, you will be unconsciously competent, where this will be like riding that proverbial bike. You will walk into a home already to some degree knowing, but yet you're still sensitive enough to know that that prognosis without diagnosis is malpractice, and that everybody wants to be listened to and observed in terms of what they need, how they need it, versus you simply saying, I'm in this house in zip code something. This is what it is. You'll be gifted enough to do that, but you're not going to then build the currency of relationship if you do it that way. So for those of you in the room today that are consciously incompetent because of all the information you've gotten here today, leave here knowing that the medulla oblongata, the cerebellum, and the cerebrum are now all firing off to get you to the next stage, and that big old amygdala that's saying right now, no, stay where you are, stay where you are, stay where you are, stay where you are, is a liar. Take action in the first step and stage of anything you can do to act on the knowledge you've received. With that, Matt, I appreciate you giving me the invite. David, appreciate you, and appreciate all of you as well.